Someone, did you know that my dad has no idea what any of this is?
This as in...
The podcast.
Matlab?
Matlab, he just thinks I have a weird job. He's like, what are you doing? Who is listening?
Nobody is listening. But in today's episode, we are going to talk about weird jobs that Akansha and I find weird. Not Akansha's dad, which would probably also include podcaster.
100%.
So let's tune in. Actually, this is a very good place to start. Langurwala. What the hell is this, right?
Yeah.
So actually, if you Google Langurwala, the first thing that comes up is literally what looks like a brown man doing blackface in a monkey outfit.
Oh,
It's
no.
literally that.
You know what? I never thought of it like that because, like I just said, it's so normal for us. I was like, that man is dressed like a monkey. And specifically a langur.
A langur.
Right? Like, it's not the orange wala monkey that we normally see. It's not a lion taking macaque. It's a langur with the black face and the white body.
But, so what does a langurwala do, right? Or why does this word langurwala exist? Not
Does he
just...
sell langurs?
Or like... I don't know. Is he just called Langurwala because he's dressed like a langur? Like he his hobby is just cosplaying langurs at random or outside. No. Yeah. He is actually a part of a well-known profession in India where people hire other people to get rid of monkeys because they are a menace.
Right. And so the way they decided the best way of going about this was to dress up like a monkey and be real disruptive. And so the monkeys are like, I don't want to do anything with that.
Because, you're showing your dominance. There's already a dominant monkey around.
So I do. Which is us. Anyway, what I do want to say, it's a nice way of getting rid of your monkey problem. Right?
It feels like, see, we go back to our Art of War episode. You don't go around like, poisoning monkeys. You just get rid of them. So this is actually a much better way of dealing with pests. Or, people. Langurs who are creating havoc in your vicinity.
People, who knows anymore?
That you hire a man who knows how to get rid of them by just being a bigger menace.
Yeah.
But obviously he's going to be a menace only to them and not to you.
Yeah. So it's like you give them a taste of your own medicine. It's basically the way moms taught you or things. So that is the langurwala profession, which is amazing. But there's also like a whole range of these animal professions.
Animal profession.
Yeah, like see, langurwala is very dedicated. It's very, like it has one objective.
Right.
Same with I would say the parrot who tells your fortune.
What is that?
Like, dude,
why have I never heard of this before?
you have seen the parrot who what are you saying? Okay, so there is usually a man sitting in like white clothes and like he has a pagadi and also he looks like...
That's a part of the...
Yeah, so he's like an astrologer. But he plays no part in actually telling your, your future, because in this scenario, so he has a set of cards, like 27 cards he lays
like
out.
tarot cards, basically.
Yeah. But in tarot, the person picks out the card and the reader interprets it. Here, the person is out of the equation. You have no control over your life. Just deal with it. And this parrot looks at the person and then picks up, like chooses cards. And then that man reads those cards. So the parrot is telling your fortune and it is legit a thing.
It wasn't enough that we are being judged by ourselves and other people, that now we are being judged by parrots.
You got that right.
So a parrot gets to look at my face and decide what my future is.
Be like, yeah, your husband's going to be as ugly, I guess. Or I don't know, maybe Mithu only gives good news. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Depends on, the interpretation.
Okay.
But the parrot does
those
the
cards
picking.
are like the tarot cards only. Like the
sort
person will be like, oh, this is the Rahu card. And
correct.
Okay, got it.
So that part is normal.
Damn though, and
so this parrot is trained to do that, to look at you and be like, and then pick up something. Then
how they do this?
I have no idea. And how they do this, we come to the dancing bears. Now, I want to know, like you said, how did this become a profession?
What was the first person who did this doing?
Did you find a cup? And then it started
What
dancing.
is the bear thing though?
So they literally, like a damu, they play a beat and the bear dances. Okay, and for this, they usually get bear cubs. And India you only get sloth bears, right? So the black sloth bear cub, and you can teach it to dance and stuff. And since the small ones are cute, I don't know how many people are entertained by a giant bear dancing. I don't know, because they'll mostly be petrified. But they get these little bear cubs and they make them dance. And I'm like, how did this become a thing? Because when we try to then stop it, you know, like, because it's inhuman, it's unbearable. You take the bear cub away from the mom and all that stuff happens. So, but since there was such a big community that was earning a living by this, you can't randomly say कि ये अभी नहीं कर सकते हो तुम.
Right.
Yeah, you're leaving those people without a livelihood. So they literally had to turn that bear dancing community into like something else. So like they taught them a whole new skill and then started taking the bears away. But it's still very prevalent in like Central Asia. Asia, I'm saying Central India. So,
But then now that we're talking about these animal things now, one of the things that I read about was snake milking.
That sounds...
So, I was also like this, Suni. I was also like this, Suni, because I was like, क्या milk मिल रहा है snake से and why do we need this? We are making milk out of almonds also now. They are not being produced by cows or anything, right? But it turns out that snake milking is actually just removing the venom from the snake so that people can make antidotes.
Just say that!
Why do we call it milking though?
Jesus!
Anyway. But then, you know the snake charmers now. So everyone who knows about Indian people knows that we are a people of snake charmers. If you are an Indian, you know how to charm snakes. But so the same people are also like basically snake charmers ka start kaise hua tha? That entertainment that people get from like, you know,
seeing
the sapira and like, you know, whatever. So that stuff is there only. Ki, you know, there's that entertainment value. He can take money for showing you the snake dance.
Honestly, it's engaging as hell. You can't look away.
And also the fact that there are people whose job is to catch snakes because they're being a menace or a pest. Because many snakes are like, you know, they inhabit human dwellings and all that. And then obviously they are a big problem because they can bite you and it can suck. So...
So, but I know that I think in Tamil Nadu, there's like a whole collective of people, which used to be like one community that was just really good at dealing with snakes, and it's literally information passed down from generation to generation. And they do this now where they catch snakes, and I hate to say this, milk them. Jeez, it's gross. Remove venom from snakes.
But it does help make the antidote. So their whole occupation is basically everything related to snakes. They are basically snake experts.
Yeah.
But that's dude, and the thing is that their occupation is that kind ki aise the father teaches the son how to do it. The son, basically one whole village will be doing it, you know. And that's the amazing thing about India in general, that the things that we find as weird occupations, they've been doing this for centuries. Like it's just been around, and when you come to know about it, it's weird.
Yeah, because we have lost the historical context to it. Like the ear cleaning people.
Dude, the ear cleaning people are my absolute favorite.
I always thought this was a scam.
But it's a true thing. So the ear cleaning people actually are found in very specific places. So matlab in bulk. They must be traveling and all also. But Hyderabad area has a lot of them. Then Hampi, Vagera, say if you're coming back and all, Bangalore area outskirts will have a lot of them.
Like a tourist spot?
Not really, because it's not in Hampi.
Okay.
It's like, you know, outskirts.
Okay.
Then this Bombay ka many places have actually. So South Bombay ka many places. In fact, CST ke bar vagera they stand. So all these people, they wear red turbans, and that is their tell. You know, you can come to me to get your ear cleaned.
Yeah, and they have like those creepy looking instruments, and people actually go up to them and
and those instruments are so creepy looking. Like you feel like, okay, I don't want that to go inside my ear. But apparently they are very effective. So the point of these people was that they were a big thing in the 1960s and 70s when all their main clientele was like middle-aged working men. So when they were going or coming back from work, they used to get their ear cleaned.
In transit.
You know, casual. And basically, it was a time when earbuds and all were not available.
A thing.
So you couldn't like do it at home, for example. And I guess all the ladies just had dirty ears for the rest of their lives. Like
I have no idea. Or they just had a bath more often. I don't know. But
deep cleanse.
But that really, like this in transit cleanliness business or hygiene business, gets me to another whole new space, dude. It's like the whole medical industry has a roadside industry in India, okay? Which is bizarre.
Okay, so this is a whole new, like, we've opened another box while we're moving.
Yeah.
So, okay, what is the first thing that you think of when you think of roadside?
Roadside medical, I think of a tent where you can say all your embarrassing ailments. You're like, I can't possibly tell the good doctor I have piles. I must tell a stranger in the tent on the roads.
Whose face I can't see because there is no electricity in there. What I can't see won't hurt me.
Yeah. And the same man or woman, who knows what's behind the tent, anyway, is the same person you tell, like, I have erectile dysfunction. You can't tell anybody else.
These tent things, they are like, confessing in church.
But only about bodily
There
function.
is a curtain. You can't see. Hello, I have bawasir. It's very bad. I can't even sit down. I'm crouching right now. But how these people end up finding, they actually work. So here's the thing. The reason why they are still there is because they have solutions to these problems.
Yeah, I'm sure. See, I'm not going to say that all of them are excellent. Some of them are bound to be like quacks or whatever. But clearly, majority of them must be working to some degree. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. They wouldn't be so popular that we see posters and all. And we see them literally on any major road. You will see one on the side. Right?
True. And it's mostly for STDs, piles. Then,
Anything embarrassing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I've never noticed that it's for anything embarrassing. Damn.
Anything embarrassing. Right? And the same ही line में, like, if you can even get roadside dentists. This is a really big thing in the north. I'm really not sure how prevalent it is in other places, where you're like, दांत निकालना है, dentist के पास नहीं जा सकते, is very expensive, and they will do like literally your teeth extraction on the road.
Damn.
Because they're so quick at doing it, like they say it's less pain. But I'm like, wow.
No, I've also heard other things about this. They are very effective. They know what they're doing. But because they don't use anesthetic, it's very dangerous. Like, matlab, people die of pain. Do you know this? People can die of pain. I did not think I would be talking about this on this podcast.
Good Lord.
But it's a thing that can happen.
Okay.
And because people are not, and teeth are very sensitive.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a root canal problem, vagera, it can be linked to your brain.
Literally. Because all the nerve endings are too close. That's why even a small toothache is like, Gah!
Exactly. And there's so many, like, if you have sinusitis also, it can lead to toothache. Like, it's so many problems. Yeah. So if your thing is just that meko tooth extraction karwana hai, you don't really know what is going on over there, you go to that person, you'll get exactly what you asked for. This tooth is hurting me, I want it out of my life. It's like an amputation. Nahi chahiye ye.
Exactly.
So they don't use anesthetic, and that is the biggest problem with these people.
Okay.
Because they are skilled, but they...
everything without anesthesia. Good Lord, though.
I've also heard, though, you're right, they do it so quickly that you don't come to know.
Yeah, that is the thing that people say, like, for them. Like, why do they still exist? If it was so terrible, like, they wouldn't have a job.
It's very scary, though, because I don't know, I wouldn't do it.
Like, look, she's shaking. She's like, yeah. Yeah, obviously, no. I don't even go to the regular dentist because it's so painful. I'm not going to go to someone who's advertising that they don't use anesthesia. Jeez.
No, fair enough. But I guess these dentists must be less judgmental, no?
For sure.
They're not going to sell their floss on you. They're not going to tell you, do you brush twice a day?
Or be like, itna build up ho gaya hai.
I recommend you go for teeth cleaning.
Yeah, they don't do anything. I see why people go to these roadside dentists. 100% get it now.
What is the weirdest thing that you found?
For me, like one of the weirdest professions.
Yeah, that you found out about.
Like, I was like, how is this a job?
Yeah.
You know, weirdly, I think that has to do with like all the jobs that happen in the fair. Right? The Maut Ka Kuwa thing. I'm like, who taught? So many questions I have. How do you train for this?
What is a Maut Ka Kuwa?
Okay, wow, I have to assume that nobody knows this. Sorry, guys. Okay, so basically in a lot of towns when the fair comes into town, this is a part of the main attraction, which is a circular structure built. Think of it like a Colosseum, but flat. Okay, like a circular structure. And drivers drive what? Maruti 800s? What are they?
Yeah, Maruti 800.
Yeah, Maruti 800 at like such a good speed and with so much like technical prowess, I would say, that they drive around it like this. So like normally a car goes like this. Here the car is going like
so
that.
they're perpendicular to the
wall
ground, but like they
structure.
because of their speed and like because of their rotational force, they don't
fall down. And I'm like, how did this become a thing? Because see, this is not one thing you can say like since ancient times you've been telling how to dance with bears. You know, like car had to be invented for this. How did this become a thing?
But it's so fun to watch.
It's amazing to watch.
So I mean, they really nailed it with that. Like it's definitely fair worthy. But you're right. And again, this is also an occupation that has been like passed on from generation to generation, because there are people who roam around with circuses.
Got it.
And they are the ones who do all these stunts. So they are like literally the stuntmen of the fair.
Got it. So basically, it's someone teaching somebody a new trick.
Yeah. And like if someone's just say, I go to a fair tomorrow and I'm like, I want to be a Maut Ka Kuwa artist.
Artist only?
Maut Ka Kuwar. Kuwar.
Kuwara. If you're single.
Maut Ka Kuwara. I want to be a Maut Ka Kuwara. And then like I go to this person and I'm like, you know, I'm big awe of you and whatever. So he if he wants, he can take me as a trainee. Obviously he's not going to pay me for it. And I can travel with the circus and I can become a Maut Ka Kuwara if I want. It's something like that.
Okay. But that is definitely something that blows my mind. I'm like, how is this a
But
job?
it is an occupation. It is a job. People get paid to do this.
And it's a stable job.
Yeah.
It's not even a, you know, like a, oh no, if I don't make this much sale, I won't be able to. It's proper stable job.
Similarly, dude.
Yeah.
The people who write on rice.
So again, you're going to fair only. Basically, Soumya and I are now walking through a fair and we're like, this is weird. That's weirder.
I'm paying 20 rupees for my name on a grain of rice. Why? How did this happen?
Okay, I have a story about this whole rice name painting thing. Okay, so when I was very small, I was so sure that the name Akanksha is too long to fit on a grain of rice. And you know what? No one can fault me for having this assumption. It is not a bizarre assumption to think that a name will not fit on a grain of rice.
Well, that's true of all. I'll let you continue.
Anyway, so I was in the line. My brother was in front of me. I was behind him and my mom was with us. And there were all sorts of annoying children with short names like Ruby and all. Okay, so... And even his name is Anurag, which is shorter than Akanksha. And I was like, I will die of embarrassment if I go to him and he can't fit my name on rice. It will be not this child.
What was he? What were you expecting? Were you expecting as soon as you told him your name or you wrote it down, he'd be like name shaming you?
Yeah, he'd be like, "Ye nahi ho sakta." Like, I don't know what I thought, but I was like, we can't go, mom, please don't make me. It won't fit. I'm telling. And my mom was just getting irritated because all she wants is 2 little remembrances from the souvenirs from that thing, which have her 2 children's names, and one child is being annoying.
My name is not going to fit. I don't care about the prowess of this artist.
I had no faith. I was like, what nonsense.
Dude, but this name change started like somewhere in Anatolia, Turkey.
Oh.
And it's also very prevalent in India. Like,
yeah.
And this is also something that people pick up and practice, by the way.
Whoa.
And it's again this trainee thing happens for this also.
Dude, that's so crazy. And to the artist's credit, obviously he fit my name so easily that he had space to draw a little flower next to it. And I remember holding that thing and being like, this is amazing.
Dude, have you fucking seen those ones that they like paint the Taj Mahal and all on it?
Dude, I don't know. It's very, very cool and it's a very intricate and tough job. And I'm just like, but how is it? Think about it, dude. He's painting on rice. It's a crazy job to have.
Whack.
Yeah. But speaking of more weird things that I am very used to, what about those ladies in Rajasthan who wear black and cry ऐसा chest पीट के at funerals?
Professional mourning.
Yes, professional. That's what I wanted to say.
Has always had my heart because I 100% know what is happening here. See, ultimately, a funeral has aspects to it.
Got it.
Right? See, someone has died, okay. There are people, the family is there, whatever.
Mourning, huh?
Yeah, then the family usually is taking care of the other people from the family who are coming to visit or whatever.
Got it.
So there has to be someone now for the antics and the dramatics. Like, this person has died.
But I'm saying, isn't like regular tears nor like enough?
It's not enough, Akansha.
Clearly.
It's not enough. We
'Cause-
need more. We are the land of Bollywood.
And they do a damn good job, I have to say.
So good. So good.
Like they wail, they beat chest, they break bangles. They're like so intense.
Hey.
Hey, is the bangles included in their cost?
Probably, yeah.
Like
I would include it. Actually, no, I'd have like, if I had a professional morning service, I'd be like, see, I'm very good at crying. I don't need any input on that. Yeah.
Me too.
Apart from that, I'd be like, see, bangles, chudi, वगैरह, I can't pay for it every time because they're going to break. I can't wear them again. And they should be locally sourced. Support your local artisans.
I like that. I like that you can bring in a rustic touch to your urban mourning. Like it's pretty great.
Yeah, and honestly, these people really know where it's at, dude. Like, honestly, professional mourning sounds. This is actually very common in Taiwan also, you know that?
So it's an Asian thing.
It's probably a Southeast Asian thing.
Cool. I mean that's worth exploring because I genuinely thought कि ये सिर्फ इंडिया में हो सकता है.
That people make a business out of this? No. But honestly, professional mourning really has my heart in a lot of ways. It's amazing.
And now like the small stuff that again just that bhaiya who lives in the lift who press buttons for you. I'm like, why is this his job? Like this should not be anybody's job. And then that other bhaiya who, even if you go to a parking, not roadside parking where someone needs to pad over a ticket and give you, if you go to a mall ka parking where you can punch a button, pay yourself and go out, there's this bhaiya who will take out the ticket and give it to you. I'm like, why is this his job? I'm like, I can actually reach it. Like, he'd just be like,
And literally all he's there is to say कि हाँ नहीं जाते वक्त देना है 20 rupees. Because no matter how many times I go to a mall, I always ask, do I have to pay right now?
oh man, I trip very hard on these small things. I'm like, poor bhaiya.
Dude, but the lift thing is very interesting because why are they called lift attendants, right?
Yeah.
Because once upon a time, the people who were doing that job of pressing the buttons were actually capable of fixing the lift if anything went wrong.
Achha, this is the old timey lifts that could maybe something could go wrong.
And that the point of having them there always is that any time the lift could be fixed immediately.
That's pretty great. I get that.
And obviously there were a lot of risks that time because the lifts were like new or whatever. So
yeah, but I don't get this new age service of pressing a button. Kaun sa floor, madam?
Dude, but then, can you imagine for the lift attendant? That's like his ship. If it goes down, he goes down with it. But if you have a lift man in your society, if you live in South Bombay or some fancy ass place like that, and you're paying a man to press buttons on your lift, please ask him this question.
And you know what? Shake his hand, damn it. He's a good guy.
The captain of that ship.
So just like the parking attendant and the lift guy, there's also, I think, coolies is just the normalest thing in a Indian person's life. Okay?
Absolutely.
If you go to station, you have too much luggage, you have a coolie. Right? But I do understand why it's actually a very specific India profession. Because everywhere else there are bellboys, like if you go to a hotel, who will take all your gigantic stuff in like a trolley.
And it's not at a station. At public places, you are on your own. No one is gonna no one started a coolie service over there to be like, give 50 cents to this person. This person
will carry your
stuff. वैसे भी कुछ नहीं होता, but फिर भी.
Yeah. No, but in India, it's like, bhaiya will be like 3 suitcase, 2 bag और 2 बच्चे सब में लेके जाएगा. मतलब there'll be like 3 things here, 2 here, and he's holding the hand of the 2 children.
It's like playing a giant game of Tetris on your head.
Yeah, man. And they are so cool. It's actually cool because then after that he'll take off. And you have to chase your luggage behind him. Because he's just weaving
he just has
through
to know
the crowd.
which platform, which train he'll fucking bolt.
Yeah, and we're like, अरे भैया रुको.
And obviously, Indian parents, being Indian parents, will be like, you keep an eye on the luggage, keep an eye on the coolie, and then you have to do this amazing marathon sprint behind
I
this
want
coolie.
to know if the coolie bhaiya decides, which he never does. Okay, most coolies are very nice. But if the coolie bhaiya does decide to run away as a child who has been asked to take care of this luggage business, what are you supposed to tackle him? Like, what is the end game here, mom?
You're supposed to trip him. That is... Come
To
on,
trip
Akansha.
him, I have to catch him.
You have to be a speed breaker. Only then your parents will be okay with it that you tried.
Fair enough. Mom, I got trapped. Oh my god. To save your sari and bartan. Anyway.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
coolies are pretty weird, like as a profession.
Yeah.
Like, and coolies also are something like, you know, I know I've read a bunch of things about, you know, when coolies were cool and were getting interviewed and all. Not anymore, because people find it so commonplace now.
Right.
But at the time, there used to be people who like own farmland somewhere, and they're not making enough money from it. So then they move away, and they
I do
become
know that
and
coolies
stuff.
also travel with the train.
Yeah.
Many of them will like go home. And it's a very long distance, so it'll be like 8 hours or something, but they just like travel with the train and stuff.
Essentially, train hosts.
Yeah.
Train.
It's pretty crazy.
What are the male air people called?
Stewards.
Train stewards.
It's pretty cool, man. But there is one person that you all have looked at. I know it. So tell me that you did in the comments. And you never found this weird. Is if you went shopping to buy dress material or sari, there was one boy who wore it and showed you how beautiful you look.
Full they wear, dude. They make all the pleats and all and dunk it in their pants. Dude, all the fucking way they wear the entire sari so that you know how you will look because you have same figure.
You'll be like, "Arey madam, bahut acha lagega, ye lau." And you're like, "Ooh."
It does look pretty great. It goes with your eyes.
And I think this doesn't happen.
Definitely not, dude. Definitely
But it is
not.
the definition of a very normal shopping experience in India.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure. They will drape it on themselves.
For sure.
Because
Dress
you have
with
to see
skirt
the
ऐसा
fall,
लगा के
right?
करेगा,
Because
तो
that's
fall
the
दिखेगा
thing
उसका
about
पूरा.
the sari and the ghagra or whatever.
Yeah.
उसका fall दिखना चाहिए. Fall कैसे दिखेगा? Someone's wearing it or holding it up in that way.
So either the boy will wear it, and if you're in South India, then there's be a Didi who will make you wear it. She'll be like, "You want to buy this? You come here first. I will make you wear it. You see how beautiful you're looking." And you'll be like, "Mama, I don't want to buy sari. I want jeans." And Mama will be like, "Nonsense. Look at this beautiful
So beautiful
sari."
you are looking. But yeah, if you've had like an amazing sari boy experience, we want to hear it.
Yeah.
Put in the comments.
That's true. Now, you know what? I feel like while researching for this was like the easy pickings, right? Like I was like, oh, this is I was just thinking basically. I didn't even have to like Google anything or. And then I was like, what is the stuff that I don't know about?
Right.
And there is some stuff that actually blew my mind.
Ooh.
And one of them is there is a community of women divers in Rameshwaram. They dive in sari and all, dude. And to collect seaweed, which is agar-agar.
Oh.
So all your vegetable gelatin or the paisam made, like, you know, that gelatinish thing is all agar-agar. And they do the diving for that.
Damn.
Just that one community.
I did not know this at all.
And try as I might, I'm going to do way more research on this and maybe get back to you guys. Like, I want to know how the hell it started, man.
Yeah.
Because it was such a cool thing that these ladies, and now they have a organized committee which is like only 12 days in a month do they go diving because they want to give the seaweed chance to grow.
Oh, that's
So
very
now, like,
cool though.
they are literally organized and they're figuring stuff out instead of being like in general, whoever is free that day goes diving sort of a thing. And I was very impressed. I was like, party is killing it, man.
That's amazing. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I did not know about at all, just like this,
Yeah.
was that in Haridwar and places like that, where usually a lot of shamshan happens, like a lot of people go there to bury their dead and like, you know, whatever. There are people or pandits called pandas, not pandas, I'm sure they're called pandas, called pandas who keep, like, who have years and years and years of family trees, like
Genealogy, basically.
full genealogy, full archive.
Now, I knew that this existed just because of like stories or whatever, like my upbringing, it has come up. I don't know where my source is. But I didn't know that it was so detailed. So, like, even I came across this Mandas thing and I started looking into it. And they basically, whenever someone passes away, people after the rituals are over go to these people and say that we need to update the records. And then they have a conversation about what else has happened in that family. Who got married to who had children, what are their names. And so every time someone passes away, the entire record has an update.
That's really wild.
So
and
cool.
What a great place to have it.
Yeah.
Because obviously people are coming there for their last rites and all that. They're not going to miss out on anything. Because the moment you get in touch with that family, you'll come to know all their updates and all.
And you know what? So my grandparents sort of moved away from, what these core traditional things like if someone passes away, you have to go to Haridwar and all that. Because in a certain way, they were fighting against all the religious superstition and prejudice that sort of comes in with it. So they moved away from it. But I'm like, this one thing, I think I want to bring it back, man.
Yeah, this is a very good way of keeping, like, it's like literally the most crude. It doesn't involve any internet. It doesn't involve anything. Literally, you're telling somebody and he's making a record. It's literally how, I don't know, Ganesh wrote the Mahabharata.
Yeah, and you'll see the same, like, as a folded scrolls. They're like so long, they don't fit in. Very long. They're so long and they're folded like that. And this is like people just writing again, father son linear.
It's really wild, and it just led me to, like, I was just like, after I found this out, I was just staring into space and I was like, there is so much like material in there for just knowing a kind of people.
Yeah, anthropological records.
Anthropology mine, that is.
Like, that is a data mine. And people are now saying that we want to digitize it and all of that. But, dude, even without that, every time someone goes to them, their system is concrete enough that they can find it and update it right there and there.
It's literally like keeping a ledger that you never lose.
So, like, if I went there, it's not like they'll be like, come after 3 weeks, like a government facility, because only then I'll find your file. No, they find it.
और corrupt थोड़ी होने वाला है वो.
हाँ, the data doesn't corrupt.
But yeah, I think that blew my mind a lot. Like, I was just sitting there and like wondering, wow, this is too intense. There's so many people's lives written in that thing.
In those scrolls. So, Swami, actually, you were telling me, not any time remotely close to this, that once you had traveled somewhere and there were like these limestone rocks.
Ah, yes. So, like in Madhya Pradesh, there's this place called Jabalpur, essentially. And there, very nearby, there are full limestone marble ke mines, essentially. Like, it's a quarry.
Understood.
And wahan pe, because of rains and all, water collects, so it has become a water body also.
Got it.
So, I had gone there on a college trip. And it was amazing. Because they took us on a boat ride and that thing. And yeah, basically the job of the person who was on the boat with us was that he was telling, the entire time he was telling us a story through essentially an epic ballad. So he was just singing, like singing the entire time.
Was it like a ballad someone else had written, like Raja Kuwar Singh Ka Raj?
Something like that. But I'm sure that it's not like something that is literary.
Okay.
Because it's just, and basically he was just taking us through all the legends in that area.
While you're going through, like entertainment.
Exactly. So on the boat,
that's very thoughtful.
Yeah, on the boat you pass this like little cliff thing, and he it's full performance art. Full performance art. He'll be like, "Wahan se to Rani ne jump kiya tha," or something like that. And then in that moment, one boy over there will jump off that cliff and straight into the water. And they're all very experienced.
Okay, I did not see that coming.
Very good at it, and it's full timed also. Like if he does this and you say, "Wahan se Rani ne jump kiya tha," that dude gets the cue, he jumps.
Dude, that's dope. I thought it was going to be like a funny story about guy with weird rhymes.
No, it is amazing. I really enjoyed myself. I had a great time.
And he's diving into a quarry, so it's like cut rock and stuff.
And they know exactly where to dive and like, you know, which parts are deep and which parts are not. And
that's very intense.
Yeah.
And again, how do you train for this?
It's just a job that comes with being on location, and secondly, the situation you are in.
I guess so. I mean, discussing all these things, honestly, just like I marvel at how awesome we are at coming up with jobs.
Dude,
Like just the entrepreneurial spirit, right, of India.
It's
is dope.
so deep rooted and so everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing you can not make a job out of.
And it literally.
When demonetization happened, they had made a job out of standing in line at the ATM.
I remember. Like you pay your stand-in, or more like you tell him कि जब मैं पैसा निकालेगा तब तेरे को पैसा मिलेगा.
No, but people had started legit apps and all for that. You know that?
No, man.
Yeah.
I know that you would literally pay somebody to stand in line. I didn't know it was
This
an app.
was an actual service that started for a couple days or maybe weeks.
Months. It was a month. It was a bad month, but it was long.
But see that you are right. हमारा entrepreneurial
You can do it.
entrepreneurial spirit
No, I got it wrong.
is very deep rooted, and it's coming from a place of having no resources.
Obviously, less resources, more people. So, like, weirdly, having less resources makes you more resourceful.
Dude, but this was a lot of fun. Like,
Yeah.
I too enjoyed myself looking at all these things. And
Yeah, and I'm sure there are like a whole bunch of things that we've missed. So please tell us about more professions that you think are weird or are awesome or just Indian. I don't know, in the comments, and we would love to talk about them.
Dude, but seriously, I feel like the more weird jobs that I saw, the more normal it was for me.
Wait,
Like,
what?
yeah, see now, the more you dive into this, you look at it and you like, squint your eyes and you're just like, but this is normal.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But that is mainly because we've grown up with it.
Correct. Like it's a part of who we are.
We haven't seen anything else.
Yeah, I get
Right? So it's just so ingrained in our life that if anything changes,
Yeah.
this cannot change.
that. Okay.
Like,
I
see,
think it's-
take for COVID, for example.
Got it.
That like fucked up so many.
Yeah, and these are most of the jobs we actually spoke about. Would have hit these communities really bad. Yeah.
And that's mainly because people are not out and about.
Correct.
Correct. But it affects a corporation so much different than it affects these people. Think of it in this way. Because once COVID is done and whatever, these people will spring back.
Okay.
Because that is ingrained in our culture that these things have to be there. Like in Jabalpur, those people have to be there. They are the tourist guides.
Got it.
Like, these your people, the ear cleaning people, they have to be there. That is their life.
Huh.
They are there to, increase your hygiene.
Correct. And you know what? I think people will expect it as well. Like you will not agree that life has gone back to normal till you don't see your sari boy wearing a sari all over again when you're going shopping. Because that is still abnormal. Like if he's standing like 3 feet away from you wearing his own clothes and his mask and you're like, this is not the shopping experience that I grew up with. Things have not gone back to normal.
Right? And
Right.
it's so intense, that feeling.
Yeah.
And it's mainly because this is our culture.
Right.
This is coming from a place
Yeah,
of super culture. It's ingrained. It's deep rooted. You can't change that about a place. You can't go to South Bombay and not expect a certain type of people to be around, because that service is what makes that place
South
that
Bombay.
place.
Yeah. That is actually a really nice insight, dude. Because I did not link the fact that the whole mahal, right?
Yes,
of
mahal
a place.
is a great word for
Yeah,
it.
the mahal of India comes from all these things that we associate with
All
India.
these people and their odd jobs.
And they're like a weird manifestation of who we are, right? Like, why do we need a sari boy? Because we won't buy till we see a good example, right? Why do we need someone else to come in and like take out that thing and take the parking attendant to take out the chit and give it to us? Because हम नहीं pay करेगा 20 रुपए, नहीं करेगा. So it's not like
Or someone will ruin the machine by trying to put 20 rupees into the thing that is giving you the ticket, unless that man was standing there and being like, please stop.
I'll do it. So I don't think they are amazing people. They are not weird people. That's why they have a weird job. This is a weird country and they are awesome people. Right?
Oh my god. But yeah, I feel like our culture
Yeah.
has just made this possible.
Correct. I mean, that is true. And you know what? Like, a lot of these are like what we think of old-timey things, right? And they were obviously a result of our culture then. And culture is changing, time is changing, the world is changing. Maybe the new weird jobs are going to be different.
True.
Right? True. Maybe the new weird job is going to be...
I saw a listicle online that said professional YouTuber was a weird occupation.
Wow.
I think that...
Is this going to be one of those self-aware moments on Padaku?
You earn money to be professional. You're just YouTuber, right?
So not yet.
Not yet. I mean, so we're not here. We're
no,
not
but
weird.
I agree. A TikTok, a person who gets like, proper money and like a professional TikTok artist, I don't know, is, I think, a weird profession. But I may be wrong, and like I may be wrong right now, not even in the next 2 years. Right? Because that's like the new norm. You'll be like, हाँ इसमें क्या weird है? I sing songs that are recorded over my voice. Like इसमें क्या?
TikTok, the new street side wala of the internet.
Dude, honestly, if someone got a monkey and then tried to make him dance on TikTok, that person would be so famous right now.
I'm sure it's happened. You know what I'm going to do?
Insert it there.
If we find it, it's going to be right here in front of my face. Oh, dude, like...
Shit. But, damn. This trip was fantastic.
It's one of, this is one of those conversations that we're like, you know what, this country is pretty great, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Nothing would be possible.
यहाँ पे सच में कुछ भी हो सकता है. And that's the best part. कुछ भी हो रहा है.
So like, comment and subscribe to our channel. Definitely tell us if we missed on any like weird occupations.
Because I'm sure there are like so many more out there that are so normal to the two of us. And we're like, this is not bizarre. Let us know in the comments and we'd love to bring them up.
Yes, and of course, new episode every Friday.
See you guys next week.